Hey, this is Ben Worrell from SheathComics.com. You're listening to the Top 5 Comics Podcast.
Welcome to a historic episode of Top 5 Comic Podcast. People talking about comics, pop culture, and events. With us today we have the Masters of Horror. From the deepest, darkest depths of the Black Lagoon comes Ross. Hey. Coming off your old-timey radio, it's Jeepers Creepers with Mike.
What's up?
Creeping around the ladies' lingerie is the Invisible Man, CBS.
It is apropos that's where I would be. The only time I'm invisible is when I'm naked. Nothing? Mystery Men? Ben Stiller was in it? I'm looking at you, Ross.
I've seen it.
Okay. Alright.
And skulking around the exit of the theater, the Phantom of the Opera. I have a half mask. I got burned and stuff. It's just on half my face. I'm a monster!
That part is true. Well, that's Rob, everybody. Thanks for showing up. Welcome to the Top 5 Comics Podcast. Today we're doing episode number 100.
Congratulations, Top 5 Comics, on 100 excellent episodes.
Happy 100th from Top 5 Comic Podcast.
Happy 100th episode, Top 5 Comics.
100 episodes, woo!
Congrats on 100 episodes, Top 5 Comics.
Hey, Rob and Steve, happy 100th episode of the Top 5 Comics Podcast.
Happy 100th episode, Top 5 Comics.
Happy 100th episode, Top 5 Comics Podcast.
Happy 100th episode of the Top 5 Comics Podcast. If you like it saucy, they got sauce. If you like it spicy, they got spice. This is the podcast from Top 5 Comic Shop. 100th episode anniversary. Woo!
Congratulations, guys. It's been awesome. 100.
100.
Right? Isn't that weird? That's what I said. Then Ross is like, let's go back to number 1. And I'm like, you don't work for Marvel. And he's like, sometimes. I'm like, hang on, what? I think he thought Marvel was something different than what it actually is. I could be wrong. I don't know what you do other than murder at night.
Is there anything else?
No, there's not. So
you're still doing the assassin thing.
Well, we've been trying to phrase the Ross Assassin into a t-shirt line. You won't have it, but it's only because the first part's a Ross Assassin.
It's not something you're really supposed to talk about.
That's what I've been told.
Yeah.
That's what I've been told. All right. Well, let's see. Today we're going to be doing Metal number 3, DC Comics. Then we're going to be doing Legacy number 1 for Marvel Comics, the one-shot. And then we'll follow that up with Slots number 1 from Image, Gotham City Garage number 1, and Iron Man number 593. Which technically is a number 1 story arc within Marvel Legacy number jump. So almost all number 1s, Ross? Almost? Almost. All right.
It's a number 1 in spirit.
In spirit. Okay. That's a good place to be.
I would say it's number 1 in my heart, but that's not true.
Oh.
It's
hurtful.
It's not quite there.
Hurtful.
But it's lower than its actual number in my heart.
Oh.
I mean, it's not quite 500 something.
Oh, gotcha. That still doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but that's all right. Moving forward with that, I think. So you mean you don't like Iron Man? Is that what you're trying to say?
No, I'm better with it now after Legacy.
Oh, okay.
Because of
You're not a friend of the Riri.
No.
Okay. The Ironheart's not in your heart.
No.
She's iron, but not in your heart.
Yeah. No.
Take that, lady.
She should have her own book. Maybe she'll get her own book now.
Yeah.
And then it get canceled.
The other ones aren't.
Are you saying that she's a...
Squirrel
No,
Girl?
that's her name. Her name is Riri Wilson.
No, but as a character, is she...
Sorry, I misunderstood you.
That's hilarious. Man, that is pretty bad. So those of you at home that are sensitive, sorry. If you're sensitive, I guess.
Say anything.
No, but it's all implied. It's all implied.
Yeah, but you can apply anything to that.
I guess.
Is she a sweetheart? Is she a...
She's a lady that it has an Iron Man suit that was in the Iron Man book as the... I'm going to stop.
She feels very fake and forced.
She's on that game.
Yeah. No, they're pushing her as hard as they can and slapping themselves on the back as hard as they can, too.
Who is she?
She's a character that they just made up.
Oh, it's not
to slide in and replace... slide in and replace Tony.
Because there's two of everybody. 2 Thors, 2 Spider-Mans, 2 Iron Mans, well, it's 3 if you count Dr. Doom.
We got a little complicated with
Dr. Doom.
With the Cap, but there's 2 of him.
Better than Iron Man.
There is 2 Caps. Yeah. Well, okay, so that's enough of that nonsense. After the books, we'll go ahead and run a interview that was done at the Colorado Springs Comic-Con 2017. This is with Ash Maczko, which I think is how you say it. Sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong, man. Him and Ashley Witter do the Squires book. Real recently, we saw Ashley is set up to have one of the regular covers for Star Wars coming out pretty soon for Marvel. But yeah, so the 2 of them are the group that does Squires, which if you haven't checked it out, you really should. So we'll run that after we're done going through the books. Hey, Ross, got any news for us today? Ross, with news from the dog pile? God damn it.
I don't have any news for you. Maybe you have news for you, though.
That is sad, Ross. When I ask for news, I want to know what the weather was like. Game stuff.
I've been inside doing homework for days now. So see, Ross, you go... Well, that's all I got now. Back to you!
See? And for those of you who didn't see, because this is an audio thing, Rob put his hand to his ear as if he was talking to a mic piece. Perfect.
I have some game news.
Okay, well, let's start with that.
It has nothing to do with comics, unfortunately.
Oh, that's sad. We'll go on.
All right, Shadow of War came out for all the consoles, actually.
Well, it kind of has something to do with the comics. There's a bunch of ads on the back of a whole lot of DC books.
Yeah, they're hitting the comic industry very hard with their ads, which is great. Thank you for keeping comics coming out.
Okay.
But Shadow of War was plagued from the beginning with really bad microtransactions and the company kind of shoveling itself down a hole with the execution of these microtransactions, including having a special paid DLC for Michael Furby? I'm probably saying his last name wrong. He was an engineer with Monolith that helped out on a lot of their projects and passed away during the development of the game. So as kind of a legacy thing for him, they decided to put him in as a orc called Fortog the Orc Slayer. And he will show up like the mysterious stranger in your game. So if you're dying and you messed up your save, he'll come in and actually save you randomly. The downside was Warner Bros. Interactive and Monolith decided that the legacy of this man should be a $5 DLC that you can pay to have his memory in your game if you want.
Well, you know.
Which
gotta earn it.
Didn't actually extend to... It had a small charity donation, but only in certain parts of the country.
Yeah, you know.
Since then, however, probably because of bad review, but who knows, they have actually made that free. And Shadow War, although still plagued with DLC, is fantastic. So it is worth checking out. Just like anything else, know that the microtransactions are there and that you can completely avoid them. But at least they did the right thing in the end with Fortog and stopped charging for it when it's supposed to be a legacy for a fallen comrade.
Well, that way they don't have to donate anything. Bump ting. Take that.
I don't know if the donations were what they were worried about.
Whatever.
I mean, honestly, it's bad.
Oh, yeah, it's bad PR.
Yeah.
Bad choice.
Yeah.
Bad. I slap your hand.
Did you know Terminator 6 starts filming in March?
I had no idea.
To anybody who cares.
I do. I care about the Terminator a lot, actually. There's a whole thing about that. We've only had one John Connor that was the original John Connor. It's from the first movie. Since then, all the other John Connors have been offshoots that are failures.
Well, this is James Cameron.
Doesn't matter. It's a director. Doesn't matter if he directs it or not. If they would have left it at one movie, then it could be a circle. But since they made other movies, there is no circle. people want to say John's dad's the other guy that came back in time. No. The original John's dad is some trucker from a gas station the lady didn't even know. And he managed to be a badass, send his friend back to save him, and then the friend got in the way and caused problems, and then we get Furlong. Don't get me wrong, Furlong had his time, I guess. And every other John Connor since then has been a failure. That includes Christian Bale.
I think this is supposed to pick up after Terminator 2, I think.
So they're going to try to erase 3, 4, and 5?
Well, shouldn't they?
Well, I mean, Genesis finally...
Genesis kind of fixed it.
Better.
Kind of.
Yeah. I mean, 3 was... It was bad.
Rough.
Yeah.
It was rough.
This time it's a lady Terminator. Ooh.
Well, that's what made her better.
Yeah. Yeah, obviously.
We still had John that was terrible.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, that's a theory that's been floating around for a little while. Isn't it the John Connor theory?
I have no idea if it is or not. That's what I believe.
The timeline.
Most people tell me that I'm wrong because there's a giant circle, and I say, well, if there's one movie, you're right. But there's multiple movies, so clearly that's not the truth.
Well, no, since we didn't die in Judgment Day, the future has been changed. So, yeah.
Bum, bum, bum.
It's obviously not a circle.
What do we know about Terminator 6?
Pardon me?
What do we know about Terminator 6?
Not a whole lot. Just a bunch of gibberish.
Just it's happening, okay.
James Cameron, you know.
Well, at least Cameron's part of it, so I guess we'll see how that goes.
And Cameron, you know, I mean, he's hit and miss sometimes.
Because he's usually, you know, he's
usually pretty decent. Yeah.
He's got his reputation.
I'm a fan.
Wasn't he Prometheus and...
No.
Or am I thinking? That's Ridley Scott.
Ridley Scott.
My bad, sorry.
He's Avatar and...
Sorry, James
Terminator,
Cameron.
And what else did he do?
Aliens. He did the second Aliens.
Second Aliens.
Titanic with an S.
Yeah, we don't count Titanic.
And he did Aquaman and Entourage. Which we
Yeah.
didn't get to see, but...
Oh, the Aquaman TV series? Is that what
Oh, that's what he was credited for.
Oh,
That
yeah.
never
They
happened.
did the movie in
It's
the
all
series.
set up
That's
for
right.
fake things that never happened. Secrets and Lies is what that is. Let's talk about something else that's not Secrets and Lies, but should be awesome. So, we were talking earlier, Mike, about Happy.
Yes.
So, Happy, I feel like we talked about it on the show once before, but I don't know,
Morrison's,
probably a while back.
And what, I can't remember the artist now. Right
I do not remember that either.
He did
him
Boys.
and Grant Morrison's love child.
Yeah, Happy, it's being turned into a TV series or...
On Sci-Fi.
Which begs the question. However, I have since seen the trailer when I initially
I've
said...
seen the trailer.
Sci-fi what?
Uh-huh.
But, man, that trailer is freaking awesome. Christopher Maloney is the guy playing the part, and he's awesome in general. If you don't know the name, he's a dude that looks like the dude that played Casey Jones in the first Turtles movies, the live-action ones. The dudes look like the same dude.
He's in that SVU show.
He was in SVU, the Law and Order SVU.
And he was in Oz.
He was in Oz. He was also Freak Show and Kumar and Harold Go to White Castle, or Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle. Yeah, he's the first one. He's the Freak Show in the Junkyard, surprisingly enough. Man's talented. I think he's freaking awesome. So, yeah, check out the trailer. You can find it on IMDb. Happy with an exclamation point. Should be freaking great. I mean, when you first said sci-fi, I said, the guys that did Sharknado? You're like, I don't think it's the same people. And I'm like, the guys that did Sharknado? I'm going to say no, that it's not the same guys doing Sharknado. Although they might be having something to do with some guys in the Valley. Book about Fallout, Nuclear Waste.
It's true.
That's Grand Junction based for those of you that listen to the show here in town. Anyhow,
there's one other movie thing. They're working on the television series for the New Mutants.
Oh, right.
And it's going to have like a horror element.
I don't think it's
a movie.
It's a movie.
No,
it's not TV.
Okay.
It's a movie.
But yeah,
It's supposed to be
hearing good things. Yeah.
Well, Arrow confirmed a big DC character in the Arrowverse here recently, I guess, or going to. A big name drop.
I'm not current on the Arrow series, so do you know what the name is?
Yeah.
What's the name?
Bruce Wayne.
Oh, yeah, you already have that. He's all over Queen.
No, Bruce Wayne exists in
thought
that universe,
no.
but it's not. I think it's separate from. It has to be separate from the Gotham show because it's kind of like behind the eight ball anyway. But
Yeah, it's got a lot of different... The three things don't connect with that particular series. That is interesting that they're going to bring the alma mater of what half the show's based on into the show. That's interesting.
Well, I mean, he can do his thing and then leave.
That's true.
I mean, he's not going to stick around.
Show high fives and then leave.
Possibly.
All right.
I mean, I'm sure it's going to be a little bit more than that, but I mean, it could be like Flash. I mean, we might have a couple of episodes or something, and then he goes back to Gotham because he's like,
this is ridiculous.
People in Gotham aren't getting punched in the face because I'm here.
Right.
In your damn hand, Green Arrow.
And you've got to punch people in the face because crime has a big nose, right?
That's why he gets punched in
In
the
the
face.
Titans TV show, they're working on.
Right.
The pilot, they recruited the director that did Fringe.
Oh, that's cool.
Interesting. Okay.
The Fringe is great.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I do like that idea. I'm all for the idea of taking Speedy and moving her over to the Titans show. I think that'd be cool, but I don't think they're going to do that.
And I know they cast Beast Boy recently.
That's interesting.
And I know they've got Nightwing.
Yeah, see, like, as much as I like Beast Boy as a character, when you talk about him on a live-action show, kind of falls apart.
Well, they have
It's going to have to
Starfire,
be really high quality for him to pull it off. So.
Hawk and Dove, and Raven.
Or at least they're going to have to figure out how to make him fun and not goofy emo.
Right.
Yeah.
Like he used to be back when Marv Wolfman and Perez were doing it.
Yeah.
He wasn't that bad then.
No.
I mean, as a character now, he's
still
so good.
Changeling.
It's just when you talk about putting him into a live-action thing, you worry what they'll do to his character to make him fit into a live-action situation. Because he's basically always the comic relief, and how that'll work when it'll cost a lot more to make him transform into funny things.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, like, the Teen Titans, I think, executed it perfectly in the animated series. But it's, again, animated. It's not live action. Start turning people into aardvarks and stuff, it starts falling apart.
Giraffes, that's where I think it falls apart. Unless they're tiny giraffes. Like people-sized. Jeffrey from Toys R Us.
Oh.
That's what I'm saying.
That's promoted.
He's a pretty tall people size.
Whatever.
He punches you with his
Isn't he
hoofs.
like 12 feet tall?
Jeffrey the giraffe? Maybe, I don't know.
that's
I've never measured him.
Oh, well.
I don't know enough to know that. It's a guy in a suit, so.
Yeah, that's true. I guess you're right.
So,
Never mind.
Did any of you watch that Gotham show?
Mm-mm.
First couple seasons, not religiously. Yes, pieces.
Did they
So,
have Solomon Grundy in it? or-
yeah, that's what I heard. They did a name drop for last season, I guess. Which is interesting, but
But I mean, it's kind of like Brother Blood and Arrow. It's a name drop.
yeah.
Although it'd be hilarious if they got Dolph Lundgren to be Solomon Grundy.
They've already cast the guy who's going to be it. It's a guy that's already in the series.
That's a mistake.
They gave his real name, and his real name happens to be the same as Solomon Grundy.
So what do you think about the chilling adventures of Sabrina?
I think that thing will be freaking great. Did you see Riverdale?
I haven't
Awesome.
seen it. Is it good?
For all the teen angst in it, I thought great.
So they had that edge to it?
Yeah, it's got weird darkness to it.
It's not Afterlife, obviously.
No. I mean, it's still full of teen drama, but they're all in high school, so the CW put it together. But yeah, as far as being interesting and not just, like, cheesy, yeah, it was great. Like, Jughead being one of the kids from Cody and, what's the two twins that were on not Nickelodeon. Where's the mouse from? Disney, there you go. Gosh, man, the Disney Channel. How is that so hard for me to figure out? The two twins from Disney Channel, the boys that were The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, there you go. Jughead is one of them. The one that's still acting. The other one, I guess, went to college to be smart and study things.
Yeah.
And to me, that was like mind-blowing when I heard that. I'm like, really? He's one of those kids? Huh. Weird.
Yeah,
Apparently everyone else is like, yeah, that's stupid.
I figured
all right.
they'd, like, shrivel up and decay like mummies.
like the Olsen twins, you find out there's a third Olsen, and she's awesome, and the other two just shrivel away.
Yeah, I kind of wish they would.
Oh.
Although they've diminished a lot lately. So
whatever. They only sacrificed so many souls once Heath Ledger was gone. What else are you going to do sacrifice-wise? I mean, it's a pretty big name to drop.
From what I understand, they're going to really gear it towards that book. I mean, it's going to be pretty
The
dark.
Sabrina book?
Yeah.
Oh, I got completely off topic there for a second.
It's going to be pretty dark.
I'm into that. I think that's cool. I think that'd be good times. Good time.
If it's anything like the comic, that'll be way cool.
Heck yeah.
I don't foresee them doing a whole lot like the comic.
No,
there's way too much like
sacrifice
Satan
and
worship in there and stuff.
But like Sabrina the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, or whatever they call it now, just Sabrina?
Chilling Adventures.
Chilling Adventures. Yeah, it's legit, folks. As far as, like, witches and witchcraft and rituals and sacrifice, yeah, it's legit. There's no, there's no Clarissa Explains It All part of it.
There's a free Halloween Comic Fest issue of that coming out.
Oh. Is that this for Halloween Comic Fest?
Mm-hmm. It's a reprint of one of the issues,
sure.
But if you're interested in it, that might be a good place to check
it
out.
That's a good point.
Heard of Project 13?
No, I've heard of Warehouse 13, which was a TV series I liked a lot.
Oh, some DC Comics adaptation of CW's Project 13.
Not enough information to know what the heck that is, like, at this point. Anyway, oh, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but something I found out recently today. Something I never heard of before, but people might be willing to search for. This really isn't news, it's just like a nugget of stupid. So, I guess get ready. So, there was a TV show attempted back in, like, 2002-ish, I think, that was called Jack and Jetstream? No. Dang it.
I think that's my dog's band.
No, well, maybe.
That's awesome.
Jack and Jetstream.
I don't think it was Jetstream. Dang, it's a fucking stupid name. Heat Vision and Jack, and it's Jack Black and his talking motorcycle, made by Ben Stiller, and I can't remember what the other name of the guy that produced it was, but Ben Stiller's the one that put it together, and Jack Black plays an astronaut who got too close to the sun, so it caused his brain to expand, so he knew everything, and then when he came back, NASA, of course, wanted to use him for evil things or whatever, and the motorcycle was his roommate that got shot by a ray that mixed him and his motorcycle together. And that was Heat Vision. And the voice of Heat Vision is... who was in... Shoot, I can't remember the guy's name. He's got like the broken-looking nose, shaggy blonde hair. He's in movies with Ben Stiller.
Owen Wilson?
There you go. See, this is the $1 Million Pyramid. Rob would be the winner.
So Jack Black...
Yes.
...rides Owen Wilson.
Effectively not physically, but yes,
as a
in
motorcycle.
the idea, yes.
As a motorcycle.
As a motorcycle, yes. Owen Wilson is his talking roommate motorcycle. It is freaking ridiculous, but if it was a cartoon right now, it would be blowing Family Guy's doors off the charts because it's so ridiculous. Anyhow, if you guys get a chance, take a look at that thing.
So it'd be kind of like Archer.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly, actually. Like, very, very similar. Jack gets smart when the sun's up. When the sun goes down, he goes back to being stupid Jack. He dances a couple times. They go to a strip club. He constantly talks. The motorcycle's not affected by the sun, except for probably wear of paint, I guess.
The motorcycle is just always Owen Williamson.
Owen, yes.
I'd imagine you complain a lot about not being able to lay down.
He does complain once about being hungry, and then they show, of course, the E for empty. Other than that, he gets kicked over once. He's like, he kicked me over. I couldn't follow him. He kicked me over. Which is kind of hilarious because it's a motorcycle. So once you kick it over, it's not like you can pick itself up. 30 minutes of your life you never get back. Just now, that was like 5 minutes of your life you never get back. So.
Well, I started thinking about it, so that's bad.
There you go. All right. Well, now that I threw that up all over everybody.
That Project 13 at this time is actually a really, really new thing. So there's not a lot of details out yet, but it's going to be centered around a character called Tracy 13, who is one of DC's kind of go-to spiritualists. It traditionally had been a man named Terrence 13, but it's kind of handed down the generation to the modern day where it's Tracy 13.
Of course, yes.
There's thoughts that this is going to be how they're going to wrap in Constantine again and a couple other like mystic-style characters into the story in Project 13. So, but right now it's so early. There's actually sites that have like hours of how long it's been since they broke down that they were
doing it.
That this thing was happening.
Well, we know Constantine's supposed to be showing up again, and I think it's in this next season of Arrow.
Today's news.
So,
and they're doing the animated Constantine too.
Right.
That's going to be on the CW Seed.
I think that would be cool.
I haven't watched much of that because I'm not into the CW stuff for the most part.
Right.
But that Constantine animated thing looks like one of the coolest animated things I've ever seen. Like,
they did a bunch of mini ones before for Vixen, and they weren't bad. I mean, they had Emil and the guy who plays the Flash, whose name I should know and don't know. They had them do the voice of their characters, so...
See, and this just looks good on because of it being a good cartoon.
So animation style?
The
animation style's good, and like the concept behind it looks really cool. And it's a bunch of demons fighting each other and stuff.
Sweet.
And blood everywhere. And, oh, it's still going.
It's still going. It just comes out slow. Which that is freaking awesome too. Alright, well, is that enough of that nonsense? News? Sort of news?
Yeah, sure.
Nonsense, just in general. After the books, we'll go ahead and run a interview that was done at the Colorado Springs Comic-Con 2017. This is with Ash Maczko, which I think is how you say it. Sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong, man. Him and Ashley Witter do the Squires book. Real recently, we saw Ashley is set up to have one of the regular covers for Star Wars come out pretty soon for Marvel. But yeah, so the two of them are the group that does Squires, which if you haven't checked it out, you really should. So we'll run that after we're done going through the books. I guess let's move on to Metal number 3. So this is jumping right into the middle of what's going on, because we have 2 more issues, no, 3 more? 4, 5, 3 more issues to come out to finish Metal. So, I mean, this is kind of a jump in the middle, so I guess good luck. Grab your boots, pull up your waders, hopefully you have an umbrella. No? None of that stuff makes any sense? Ross didn't pack any of that.
No.
He's like, I don't want rubber underwear, and I'm like, that's almost useful.
I don't think I actually said that.
In my head you did. Which is terrible. Anyhow, okay, so, gosh, try to get serious for a second, folks. Not that anybody cares, but there we go. So Scott Snyder's the guy writing it, Greg Capullo drawing it, so you should know them from Batman New 52. When we first open up here, now, Metal has been a crazy mess of crazy. So when we first open up at issue 3, we start out in Smallville, Kansas, the childhood home, and then they say of rock. And what we have going on is we have John and Damien basically in what looks to be a rock band. The two of them playing guitars, and of course the song is No, Batman.
I didn't even see that. That's awesome.
Yeah, so they're singing the Batman
so cool.
theme song. Their adoring or fawning parents are watching, so Clark, Lois, Bruce, and while they're out there talking, they've planned to have a party, and the entertainment for the party, so the rest of Justice League is supposed to show up. And the entertainment's going to be the boys playing. And so, as they're talking, like, Clark makes a mention about how Bruce's song doesn't have any build-up to it. And he's like, oh, I like it, though. And he's like, yeah, but like Superman's song, like my theme song, which is odd, because he's like, my theme song? And that's only like a universe to us thing.
Yeah.
It has a lot of build-up. When you think about the Superman theme from the 80s and 90s movies, it does have a lot of build-up. Funny because it's funny. Anyway, Lois is really enjoying it, and as Bruce is talking to Clark, he decides that, he's going to tell them all, thanks for helping him, and try to be, like, apologetic or thankful for them helping him with his problems during Metal. And they all respond oddly to that. Because Bruce doesn't really say thank you for anything. Really. Next thing you know, he's bleeding on his chest, and Diana points it out, and she's like, you're bleeding, and you really see the blood, and it's in the shape of a bat symbol. And from there, his chest throws up a giant being from inside, which if you...
An alien.
No. Well, no.
Damn it.
It throws up from inside of him. It's Barbados. So, like, the giant hooded, devil-looking Batman with wings. And, he basically grabs a hold of Superman and starts squeezing him. And Bruce is like, oh no, not again! And we realize that all of this has been some type of fake nightmare that he's living in. And from there, the riders coming over the hill, and it's the rest of the Metal Batman. So we have the Bat Who Laughs, and we have the Death Machine, and we have Drowned and Merciless, and they're all on horseback coming to this now inferno where Clark is being tortured. But it's odd because it's Clark being tortured. Now, if you're current on the book, then you understand why that is. Of course, that leads us to finding out that Clark's been trapped inside one of the giant spiders that have been resurrected by Barbados and the Knights, the Dark Knights, that they're using to enslave people in and fuel with their nightmares. Wonder Woman has managed to free Superman by using the lasso of truth and pulling him off the spire, And she lets him know that, well, most of Gotham has been turned into these crazy, doomsday monsters, thanks to one of the other bats, who also happens to be Doomsday. And he's like, there's Jimmy, I have to help Jimmy. She tells him, you can't help Jimmy, Jimmy's already transformed. And Superman's worried about John and Lois, and she lets her know that Lois has been changed, but John is fine. And that leads Superman to automatically go after Barbados, enraged, which makes sense. Of course, that doesn't lead to any real win for Superman. There's a lot of dialogue between A and B that explains things are going on. But as Superman chases towards Barbados, he encounters another person in the fog around Barbados, and he hears the voice, and the voice is Bruce. And from what he can see with his Kryptonian vision, it's Bruce. But it turns out that it's not really Bruce, it's a Doomsday Bruce. This situation is pretty freaking bleak. And while Superman's trying to deal with him, eventually he winds up crashing into the center of Gotham, where he's surrounded by a snowstorm, which we can thank the Bat Who Laughs for. The Bat Who Laughs, a few issues back in one of the side books, the Teen Titans, we wound up finding out that he split Gotham into a giant maze, being controlled by different parts of Batman's, his rogues gallery, that's a good way to say it. So this section that's full of snow is Mr. Freeze's section, who's been turned into a giant golem. And of course, the Bat Who Laughs warns Batman to watch out for the giant golem, and then they take the whooping his ass. And it looks pretty bad for Supes, until all of a sudden we see an Ankh appear, and the Flash runs out of the doorway and pulls him into a section of Pocket Dimension that Dr. Fate has sealed off from the rest of them, which is in the old bar in England, the one that the Knights go to, the Batman Knights. I can't remember the name of it, and I'm sure it's here in the book, but I don't remember. So I guess you have to search that up yourselves. The folks that are there is Bobo and Nightmaster, and Nightmaster's working as the bartender, and Bobo is Detective Chimp.
Okay, that's what I was just going to ask.
Yeah.
I think so, but...
It is.
They never say specifically.
No, they don't. They just call him Bobo, but he's Detective Chimp. So the two of them are there, and then we have the Flash, Aquaman, Green Lantern, Hal Jordan, Green Lantern, Wonder Woman, Nightwing. As we go over things, Nightwing starts explaining to Superman other problems that have happened. And one of those small problems is that the Murder Machine, which is our cyborg Batman, has created a bunch of nano-Alfreds that he has basically controlling a big chunk of the city. So there's all these Alfred clones, like robot clones, basically just torturing people and hurting them. Then he talks about the Red Death Speed Force ring that he's created in Keystone, that if you touch, it starts draining you and aging you. So you've got a bunch of old people wandering around who've gotten into the green mist and skeletons, and it's a real mess. So, things are super bleak. About that time, we wind up having Damian show up, and Damian's with Green Arrow. And now, we had a really big revelation during the Gotham Resistance, the 4-part crossover that they didn't announce was a crossover until it was already happening, which leads from the Teen Titans to Nightwing to Suicide Squad to Green Arrow. And all 4 of those stories lead to what answer was revealed in the middle of this, that they finally figured out a way to fight them. So I'm going to leave that off the page just because I figure you guys should read the books. So, that's what it is.
You sure Grant Morrison didn't write this?
Pretty sure. According to no, he didn't.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I really like Damian and Nightwing and stuff. Their new designs for this type of thing is cool.
Oh yeah, the look of their hoods. It's pretty cool. Anyway, so they go over what they found as a weapon, and then they start talking about what to do next. And Nightwing's like, well, I think we should stay here and fight because that's what Bruce would want us to do. And Superman's like, no, I'm pretty sure in my vision he was calling to me. He used the code that me and Diana have with Bruce when we first formed the Trinity. And it's an interesting thing they talk about, and how they're supposed to... So he recites something that Bruce was saying to him in the opening sequence. In the opening sequence, Bruce said something about Carpe Diem, which means seize the day. It's, it's a saying from Latin, I think. Mm-hmm. And Clark's like, it struck me as weird. And so, in his head, he's decided it's a message from Batman. And so, Nightwing and him argue for a second, and then Damian jumps in the middle of it, saying, no, we have to say my dad. And he basically bitch slaps Nightwing. And he's like, you don't want to fight, you want to fight and stay here and fight, you don't want to go after Dad, and that's fine, whatever. And Superman's like, well, we're going to have to split into groups, and he devises a way to split them all up. About that time, we have one of the other Robins, the Crows,
it's important to mention that when they split into groups, there's like, well, there's a fourth one, and we don't know who's gonna. There's no one there for it.
Right. There's 4 places they decide they need to go to try to defeat this problem. And the fourth one they don't. Yeah, they don't mention or talk about.
They need someone with nth metal for each one of the places,
They
and
do.
they only have 3 people so far.
Right. Well, about that time, as they try to decide things, that's when the Bat Who Laughs shows up and breaks into the pocket dimension. And Detective Chimp and Nightmaster say, don't worry, we'll hold them off while you go. And they all flee, leaving Detective Chimp and Nightmaster to die. So effectively, they don't make it out of it. But the groups have been split up to go do their missions. So we join Superman and Flash, which I want to say the second part of the story happens in the Flash issue that comes out next week. And they devise a plan to try to send Superman to help save Bruce, which we find out may not go exactly how they expect. And without giving away the entire end of this issue, I have to stop there, because otherwise it gives away the entire ending. But it is pretty detrimental to the system. And as far as like a setup, what we can see from it is that maybe they played right into the hands of the Bat Who Laughs, who seems to be the ringleader of the group, if not Barbados. Book-wise, man, as a score, I would give it a 4. The art's great. It is crazy. There's a lot of crazy town going on in here. So if you were just to pick up at issue 3, yeah, you'd be sort of lost. Let's say you started reading comic books in issue 3 of Metal. I don't know if you'd keep reading, simply because how crazy it is. If the only information you had was the movies, because that was the easiest accessible thing, and you're like, I'm going to start reading at Metal number 3, I would say it would be a mistake. But book-wise, it's a really good book. And it's pretty entertaining, and like the way the characters interact is kind of awesome. I mean, it's definitely bleak, like into times bleak. I mean, I have like this crossover event series like this one since I would say maybe Forever Evil. So yeah, I give it a 4. Ross, you want to score that book?
I agree with you. I'd give it a 4 too. My favorite part was the dumb dream thing at the very start with John and Damien playing in a band, just because I could totally see John and Damien being like, hey, let's learn how to play these, and the fact that they're playing the Batman theme song is ridiculous.
It's hilarious.
But throughout the rest of the book, I love that they incorporate a bunch of characters that we haven't done a whole lot with recently, or if they've been there, they've been kind of just background stuff. So you have things like Steel and Dr. Fate in there.
Right.
Awesome. It was very confusing to me, and I haven't read much of the Metal stuff before this, but I still read it and still enjoyed it a lot, so...
Just scoring there, Ross?
4.
Ah.
Sorry. Same as you.
No, yeah, I lost track of what was happening. That's me. Mr. Mike, you have any thoughts on Metal 3?
It's, I haven't read the other parts. It's insanity.
Right.
But I'll give it a 4 just for the Batman theme. The art's awesome.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's great.
You have to have a
so...
little faith in Snyder. He'll pull it all together. It'll make sense. You know, it's good. It's not.
I thought it was hilarious that Damien was such a big part of this, and Scott Snyder can't write Damien.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Anyhow.
I'm surprised it's not Duke Thomas. There's another rock to throw at you. Take that guy. Rob, you have a score for that book?
I guess I'm going to be the oddball. I'm going to give it 3.5. I do like what they're doing. Artwork for it is fantastic, but it's spinning out. It's crazy. So hopefully when it brings back, and things start falling into line a little better.
Did you read the Gotham Resistance stuff?
I haven't gotten to.
Okay. I think if you have those pieces, it irons it out a little bit better.
Yeah.
The one-shots definitely have been not like the most important thing in the world. If you're reading the main story, I think you'd be okay. But the side stories, like the one-shot for Red Death, the one-shot for Drowning, the one-shot for Lightbringer, they've been pretty good. I mean, they're not done by Snyder, they're done by other groups, but as far as like a setup, they've been pretty good. Go on.
DC Metal kind.
Rock! I want to rock! Rock! No, I'm the only one in the room. It's like, I even point at you to tell you what to say.
Yep.
It's better than mine because I have the freaking Backstreet Boys. What's this body rock?
That's not...
Backstreet's back.
No! Absolutely. Rob, let's move on to Legacy, Rob. Something that's not that. just now at all.
Alright. So we're going to go ahead and do Marvel Legacy, number 1. Written by Jason Aaron. And there's 2 artists for this book. So, and I'm sure I'm going to say this wrong, but Assad Ribic and Steve McNevin doing the art for this story. And this book is the setup basically for what I'm pretty sure is going to be Marvel's big event book this summer, if not like their year of Marvel book. So there's a lot of setups and spoilers in this book, and so we're going to try to skip over as many of those as possible while still kind of giving you an idea of what this book is about. So,
right. So it's going to be difficult, so, you know.
A lot of this book is being told, I think, from the mindset of Odin, but he's musing on what legacy means. And it means something kind of different to each of the characters that they talk to in here. We begin back 100 million years ago in the Stone Age. And we see Mjorn laying on the ground of a blasted out environment, and we have this kind of Neanderthal guy come up and try to lift it, and of course he can't.
Crazy caveman guy.
And it kind of pulls back to revealing a young Odin, who talks about like his trials trying to master Mjorn.
Mjolnir?
Mjolnir.
Mew Mew?
Mew Mew.
Depends on who you're listening to.
Mew Mew is the way to go. Basically, Thor's hammer.
Yes.
He's joined by the Phoenix, who has a physical form. And we wind up finding out that that the Phoenix and Odin have formed like a team to deal with a interstellar enemy that could destroy this Earth, this universe possibly even. And the people that we find is the ancient ancestor of the Black Panther, the possible first Starbrand, the early version of an Iron Fist, and probably Agamotto, the original Sorcerer Supreme.
And we have a Ghost Rider.
And a Ghost Rider, yes, who had a woolly mammoth.
Woolly mammoth Ghost Rider.
That's awesome. Which it would have been awesome to see him ride it. Unfortunately, the mammoth was the first casualty. But the rider is still there.
Yeah, but what's really important in that situation?
Depends on which one's blessed with hellfire.
His vengeance, I think, in this case. So, I mean, we're kind of led into this epic conflict with what you could probably describe as, like, the first Avengers.
As far as a team, I mean, it's all pieces that are, like, passed down style, yeah. Save for Odin, which, I mean, Odin and Thor, that's your closest connection there.
Well, in a way, I mean, the hammer. The hammer's a part
I
of
guess
that
the hammer's the sentient being, which is also freaking weird.
Mm.
Because the way they talk about the hammer, to go off for a second, the way they talk about the hammer, they talk about it so that's hype. Legit. If it works hard, you might as well quit. Oh, no? It's the hammer. Okay, so anyway, was it the way they talk about Mjorn, or, damn it, now you got me doing that, Mew Mew, is that it's like an entity, like a living presence. So, like, in my head when I read that, I'm like, hang on. So you mean that the hammer is its own, like, embodiment of a being? So does that mean whenever, supposedly, you create a Stormbringer for Better Ray Bill, you just open up the pocket dimension that has, I don't know, a whole herd of hammers just hanging out, doing hammer things? To hand one to Better Ray Bill? Like, here you go, guy. I mean, this is so many million years ago, I guess he just trained all the hammers to do what he wanted. Like they were horses or something. No, absolutely not. I mean, we were talking the other day, and I was like, well, I guess it could be a whole lot like the Harry Potter and of it. The wizard, the wand chooses you. It's a stick. Either you're magical or you're not. Magic stick. And you're like, well, the lightsabers, the crystals are things with personality. Crystals as much as rock can have. How much does a personality does a rock have? It's a freaking rock.
The rock or a rock?
No, that's something totally different. Smack down the rock bottom. Possibly running for president in 4 years. That's entirely different. But nevertheless, apparently this is something that's been mentioned before in the Mighty Thor series, alluding to the idea that the hammer has its own presence. Which I guess if it's a magic spell that endows the freaking hammer, then I guess that's possible. But even then, like, it's just hella questionable.
A Ghost Rider with a mammoth is possible, and you're questioning this?
A hammer that has a personality in it? Yes. Absolutely. Riding a mammoth, it's an
a talking
animal.
motorcycle with Jack Black?
Well, that's not any part of this.
I understand that.
I don't think Jack Black should be around automobiles at all, really. let alone trusted to drive them. So, not that I don't like the guy, because I think the guy's hilarious. But in all honesty, do you hand the keys to him at the party? No, you don't. No, for lots of reasons. Nevertheless, go on, Rob.
Yeah, there's a lot of controversy about the hammer as far as I'm concerned as well. Where our story goes from there is to our modern era. And we're kind of catching up with a lot of these legacy versions of them, including the most current version of Ghost Rider. Now, Johnny's still out there being Ghost Rider, but the one that they really focus on for Ghost Rider right now is Robbie Reyes.
Right.
And Robbie has somehow gone from California to South Africa overnight in the car.
And no memory of how it happened.
No. Doesn't have any idea how he got there. He's as confused as the police that are trying to, roust him in the morning, which actually leads him to take off and run across the Star Brand. Now, Star Brand is an incredibly powerful character, but we haven't seen him for a little bit. And to say that he seems a little mentally skewed is kind of an understatement.
Yeah, he's definitely on fire for whatever reason. Whether it's correct thinking or not, hard to say.
But it puts them directly opposed to each other. From there, we catch up with Loki, who has a whole plan of stealing a very significant secret passage from an old S.H.I.E.L.D. facility. And in doing so, in typical Loki fashion, he tricks a bunch of stunted ice giants to go do his work for him so that he can just kind of watch from the background. Which leads to some pretty cool stuff, and it also connects to our next legacy character, which is the current Thor. Which, for people that have been out of business for a minute, is... I'm blanking on her name. Dr.
Jane Foster.
Jane Foster, yes. Yeah, I don't know how. I couldn't remember that for a moment.
Fired. Go on.
I was going to say Natalie Portman, but...
It's not the same thing.
Be Jane Foster.
Princess Amidala.
That's true.
The lady from The Professional, back when she was a small child.
If you did that in the films, if Natalie Portman got to be Thor, that would actually be pretty cool.
That would be pretty sweet.
That would be pretty cool.
It's not going to happen. But anyhow, we catch up with her. She and Ironheart and Falcon all get in the mix to try to stop these ice giants from stealing something from this facility. Which ultimately, even though they think they succeed, they really fail. The end of that is so much of a spoiler we can't even talk about it.
No.
Then we find Captain America, who's also dealing now with his own legacy. Because he has to answer for all the stuff that happened in Secret Empire. So, everything that this Hydra version of Cap did, he now has to atone. Along with that, we're, of course, brought back to seeing what's going on with the Odin son. So we can see that he's still kind of in his self-imposed exile or whatever. We also touch briefly on what's going on with Iron Man, which I think we'll probably talk about in the next book. Or the
Iron Man books.
Yeah.
2 books from now.
Yeah.
In the podcast, linearly.
There is also a kind of a touching moment with the 2 remaining members of the Fantastic Four.
Ben and Johnny,
which I thought actually was probably one of the cooler parts of the book. Because a lot of this book is legacy. And these guys are like, yeah, who cares about legacy? When the chips were down, we were always there. And they're kind of like, well, does the world need us anymore? And the thing's like, they always needed us. So, I don't know, it's kind of a strong return for the Fantastic Four when they get around to that, if they get around to that.
I think it's a setup for it, to get to it.
Yeah. They are going to do a Johnny and Thing book for a minute, so...
Yeah, they're coming out with 2-in-1. Thing 2-in-1.
Yeah.
So it's a recall to an old title, which was basically Thing Team Up, but that's a different story.
Yeah.
Go on.
That was awesome.
As we close out the end of this story and then start wrapping other things up, there's all sorts of Easter eggs for all of these new jump-on points. Be it from the Hulk, to the Avengers, to what's going on in Champions, to what's going on in Iron Man right now. with a really strong lead up at the very end where we get a return of a character that we haven't seen in a while, and like the collection of powerful artifacts that are definitely going to be a big part of this new story. So, I mean, it's laden with a lot of spoilery stuff.
You said Champions?
Yes. Yeah, the Champions have been out for a minute.
They brought that back?
They have, but it's not the...
It's not the same.
It's not the same, no. It's not like we don't know what to do with these guys, so just throw them on a team. Champions.
It's like Iceman, Hercules,
the Beast.
Yeah.
The Angel. Yeah. And Black Widow as the lead.
Black Widow.
Don't forget the Gargoyle.
Yep, Gargoyle.
You know, like it used to be.
Those were some cool stories.
They were, but it really felt like it was the grab bag. Like you just shook up the bag and we're like, who's left in here? Okay.
Yeah, pretty much.
But the champions that we have currently are all like the Avengers who didn't really fit in. So it's Miles Morales, Miss Marvel, Nova, Young Cyclops, the Totally Awesome Hulk, and Vi, which is Vision's daughter. So it's like a bunch of, it's just like the young characters have their own book.
It's like a Teen Titans Avengers.
So Miles Morales hasn't had a very big impact on coming over to this universe.
Well,
he does, but
yeah,
you gotta have a Spider-Man on your team. That's how it works. There's like 8 of them, so you have to have one of them.
Well, there was a big fallout in. Okay.
Anyway.
We're carrying this over.
Yeah.
There was a big fallout event where the old Avengers and the young Avengers butted heads, and the old Avengers said, "Shut up and take your place," and the young Avengers were like, "No, we're young. We're going to do our own thing." Champions was made. That's the short story.
All right.
And it's actually good. It's actually good.
It is pretty good.
Anyhow,
Alberto Ramos has been doing art for it, so it's great.
So, Marvel Legacy, high marks. Actually, it makes me excited for the future for Marvel. I'd give it a 4. I really do enjoy it. Jason Aaron's is awesome. The art for the book is actually fantastic. So, a lot of the stuff that's great about it is the stuff that we can't talk about. So
right. All right. Well, I'm going to follow suit, Rob. I'm going 4.5. That is a lot of me stuttering over words that don't need to be stuttered over.
I think that's following suit either.
Well, I'll give it high marks. Following suit with high marks.
There you go.
High marks. That's writing is awesome. Like you said, reveals. The book is chock full of reveals. So if you guys got to read DC's Rebirth one shot, the amount of reveals in there and like, ooh, possibilities, this book has more. As far as implications, it's like the same idea, savor, Marvel flavored, and full of other like paths that could be freaking awesome. So like as a setup book, great. Reveal book, also great. Art's fantastic in it. So yeah, if you missed out on it, then you failed, because it's great. Anyway,
we can only hope the execution's as good as.
You shut your mouth.
I'm hoping.
Yeah. Raj, you got a score for that book?
I'd probably give it a 3.5 out of 5. Like you said, it seemed a whole lot like Rebirth to me. A lot of really cool things in there. I'm sad about the mammoth that you don't even get to see being Ghost Rider.
It's a loss.
The Flame Mammoth would be awesome, but I think they probably did that so it didn't dwarf the rest of the book.
Probably, because it'd be the coolest thing ever. Anyhow, but there were other cool things in there.
Terrible. Man, burning hair everywhere.
It's got the penance stench, okay?
That's a bad thing to have.
You smell it and you feel all your sins.
If you ever smell burning hair, then you're right. Especially if it's your own. It's terrible. Mr. Mike, you got anything about that book?
I can't get past the hammer thing, man.
It's understandable.
No.
It is a hard thing to take.
Look, there's some really cool stuff in there. And having a couple of members of the Fantastic Four is always good, so that gets it a 4 right there.
All right.
Nice.
4 for 4. That's what I like.
People say...
And just what I just saw, which I can't talk about,
but
that's cool.
Yeah.
People say that they think the Fantastic Four is terrible, and there's a lot of people who rap on the Thing, but the Thing is like one of my favorite Marvel characters, and it's not because his powers are great, it's because he's such a great character. Mm-hmm. Like, he's been through all the garbage to be a real hero. Oh, I digress.
Well, I think
they're all the way they interact together.
Yeah.
And they are a family, but it's just, I've always loved the Fantastic Four, and they just never done, like in the far as movies go, they've never done it justice.
No.
Yeah, I'll give you that for the movie sake of things.
And I still have not seen the last one. I avoid it.
You're
I won't.
better off.
I won't.
I'm still not a fan of Reed Richards necessarily. And I don't know if that's, unless there's like a million of them, because that storyline that Hickman was writing where they found a planet of reeds and they're all like doing crazy science, I'm like, this is the best thing ever. So if there's like a pile of reeds, then I'm like, that's great. If it's just one, I'm like, yeah, no. Absolutely not.
That Rick and Morty took that from him.
Yeah, they did.
Awesome.
Silly Rick and Morty. Funny stuff. Alright, so let's move on to the Gotham City Garage. This is DC Comics again, and if they were still doing Elseworlds run, I think this would be a fantastic Elseworlds book.
Absolutely.
Book-wise, so we got...
It starts off with a... Wow.
Oh, yeah. It's
dark.
Yeah, it is, for sure.
It's really dark.
Which is freaking awesome. So, story-wise, we got Colin Kelly, Colin Kelly and Jackson Lansing, and then the art is Brian Ching. As far as art, like, I like it. Style-wise, I mean, it's a little simpler than other things, but I like it. Because when it gets to the technical stuff, like the robots and the bat armor robots look awesome. So, yeah, I dig it. As far as book opening, yeah, like where we start, yeah, it's pretty dark. I mean, we basically have what looks to be a platoon of bat police executing a family?
Execution style.
Yeah, like full on your knees execution style. Out in the middle of what looks to be like a farm. And that jumps to show us what is the city underneath a dome. They call it the Garden, and it's the last city remaining on Earth Lutherized in 35 years ago. So whatever's happened to the Earth that's turned into this desert wasteland apparently happened 35 years ago, and this particular city was saved by Lex Luthor, I guess? I mean, as far as setup, we don't have a whole lot of backstory for the Earth right now. But we jump from there, seeing the city, into a workplace where we have a whole bunch of folks working at computers, and they're all talking about the new big update that everybody's going to get. Oh, the great upgrade and how awesome it'll be. And as they talk to each other, they say stuff like, Luthor loves you, and praise Luthor, and it's very, like, culty and odd.
It's like they've been microchipped.
Which is exactly what it is, yeah. So we wind up finding out that it seems like everyone who lives in the dome has been microchipped to act happy and love Lex Luthor. Our main character, who is one of the people that works at said facility, she realizes that she doesn't always feel the same way as everyone else, which is odd. Because if you don't feel the same way, that leaves you being executed outside your house in the farm. So she heads home. We wind up finding out this is Kara. And on the way home, she winds up encountering a batch of the Bat Police who are getting ready to take out a boy in a neighborhood, or like an alleyway or whatever. And he is glitching. So, like, his words aren't coming out right. His computer chips are having problems.
Malfunctioning.
And, like, he's malfunctioning. And she recognizes it right away. And she tells the bat drones that she'll fix him. She'll just reset his chips. And she does this crazy thing with his eyes and resets him, and off he runs. Lex loves you. But this has made the bat drones pay attention to Kara, who, in theory, if she was acting correctly, would have never stopped them at all. So Kara heads the rest of the way home. When she gets home, she finds Dad, who we find out is Jim Gordon. And Jim is having trouble talking also. Not quite the same as the boy, but his sentences are fragmented and broken. And, like, the stuff he says, like, if you're a fan of the DC Universe and know DC characters, things he's saying are key things to us. But if you don't know that kind of stuff and you're not familiar with Kryptonians or the Bat lineage, then some of the stuff he says wouldn't make any sense at all. And as this is going on, like, he's bleeding out of one of his eyes, and she's like, oh, I'll just reset you and fix you. He's like, no, your history isn't true. You have to get to the sun. They're coming.
Tells her to run.
About that time, we have Batman smash in the window and start blowing the place up. And, of course, she runs, because it's terrifying. That leads to her being chased by other Bat drones. Not necessarily Batman, but other Bat police. And, like, the way they look is like RoboCop with a Batman head.
Mm-hmm.
So as she's running, she's like, the only thing I understood the Dad said was get to the sun. But that doesn't make any sense. I have to break the dome to get out of this. I don't know. That doesn't make any sense. So she climbs to the top of one of the buildings and activates a couple of the robot drone things, not the bat drones, but robot sentries, and has them break the roof. And then, as she's being chased by the bats, she jumps out of it. And when she jumps out of it, she realizes something that's super crazy, which I think we should save as a catch point, because it tells you who she is if you don't already know by the name.
Right.
Of course, that leads to her being fired on by more bat police and crashing into the desert. Whereupon she's rescued by 4 chicks on bikes. And we have Silver Banshee, Big Barda, Harley Quinn, and Catwoman. All show up on crazy chopper motorcycles in the desert and start whooping these Batmen. And they do a pretty good job of it. And not all of them are using, Silver Banshee, we don't really see use her powers, but, knowing her powers in general is a hard thing, depending on what books you read. But anyway, so the girl is basically taking apart the bats, and Kara takes in suit helping them, and she does pretty good for herself. That leads to the girls telling them, well, come with us, we're going to take you to the Gotham City Garage. And so they load her up on the bikes and ride off with her. And they're not really sure if they should trust her or not, but again, the bats were trying to kill her in the desert. So anyway, they get back to the garage, and we wind up meeting Natasha Irons, which if you're familiar with Superman lineage, you should know is Steel, the other Superman, his daughter. And she, of course, meets the girls at gunpoint and doesn't want the new girl to come in. And expects the girls to explain why they bring her, because she works for Luthor. She must be a spy. And so we go over that for a little bit, and she explains to her how she doesn't know any of this is true, she doesn't understand what's going on, things are crazy. And so Natasha tells her she can stay for the night, and then she's got to go in the morning. And then that's it. So while she's there, we wind up seeing this room full of, refugee types, very Mad Maxy, but a saloon kind of thing going on, and we have relics from the past, a missile that has Superman's logo on it, probably something that was built by Lex, most likely. A bunch of other souvenirs with different logos and things, and then a bunch of, ruffian bar guys, and the girls. Of course, that leads Kara to making a decision about what she should do with her jacket, which is also very revealing, so I'm going to keep that a secret. And then, the last catch in here is, the most brutal. So I think we're going to spoil that piece, because it doesn't really ruin the rest of the story, I don't think, but it tells you just exactly how dire this is. So we go from the girls having their drink at the bar, and Kara trying to decide where she fits in the world, to what looks to be the inside of LexCorp Mansion, or LexCorp in general. And we have the Bat officers dragging Jim Gordon into a room to present him to Batman. Which, if you know Batman, you know this doesn't make any damn sense. And Batman starts questioning Jim about the girl, and why she wasn't chipped, and if Barbara's chipped. And Jim answers him, yeah, Barbara's chipped. And so Bats tells him, well, that's good, because I only have to kill one Gordon tonight. And he basically takes Jim's head and turns it around. All the way around. Mm-hmm. And that's where we leave it. So that's the end of the book, but the catches in the middle are what sells what the rest of the story is. However, if you thought it was bleak at the beginning with the execution of the family at the farm, yeah, Batman just rearranged Jim Gordon's head. How screwed up is that?
The beginning and the end of the book are
both super dark.
Yeah.
Now, like I said, Elseworlds books, I really wish they had just a regular series for Elseworlds again. This thing could easily fit in that. As far as a series, I don't see it lasting forever, because it's obviously going to get outside the normal universe. But the first issue is freaking great. And for being from a weird concept to get where we are, awesome. Score-wise, I give it a 3.5. It was fun to read. The designs of the characters are all fun. It's a world that's bleak. That whole thing with Gordon and Bats. Oh my god. Crazy. Terrifying. A Batman that's working for Lex or part of Lex's program and, seems to be the main feature of it is freaking crazy. But it's pretty impressive. So yeah, I give it 3.5. Both covers were awesome. One cover is Harley on her hog, and the other cover is Wonder Woman on her hog. Hogs being motorcycles, in case you were confused.
I wasn't going to ask.
Ross, you got a score for that book?
I'd probably give it a 3. I like that DC's all about doing this, series based off their collectibles that are kind of different ideas. As far as a book, totally not what I expected either, as far as how brutal it gets and what kind of book it is in general. Art's good for it, and the story's pretty good. Yeah, definitely worth checking out.
Mr. Mike?
You handed me that. I looked, and it's like, oh, God. But you open it up, and it's like, well, hang on. That's very misleading. The title's got to go.
Well,
but it, like you said, it's nuts. It's very dark. I liked it. The art was fine.
Yeah.
They didn't overdo it with a certain character like they like to do, as I recall.
Yeah, that's true.
They usually, you know.
It's a little more out of control usually.
Yeah. But it was a very good book. I'd give it a 3.5.
Mr. Rob?
I'd actually follow suit. I'd give it a 3.5 as well. Even reading this in the previews, I didn't expect much. And honestly, you know, when it's based on a collectible, like Ross was saying, a lot of times that doesn't necessarily build the best stories. But Bombshells was a good surprise, and so was Gotham City Garage. I didn't expect it to be this way, so I don't know, I'm relatively impressed with it, actually. So it's actually a really, really worthwhile read. So.
Cool.
If you can handle the dark stuff, yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, as long as you can put up with a little bit of darkness in your stories. I mean, obviously the main focus of this isn't going to be Bruce. If nothing else, he's going to be a problem. Whether that's by choice or not, I mean, who knows? I mean, again, like Ross mentioned, like this whole storyline comes from a batch of statues that got made. And
I would continue reading it.
Oh yeah, me too. I dig it. I think it's awesome.
So my question is, do we really think that's Bruce?
You know, I don't know. From everything we've seen and the way he talks to Jim, yes. Could it be somebody else? I mean, I guess.
Yeah.
But I think unlikely. I mean, Lex is too much of a... Lex running around as Superman with no mask? Okay. But the idea of him strapping on a bat cowl? Unlikely.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
His ego wouldn't allow it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
But whether it's Bruce that's actually Bruce or if it's Bruce that got chipped first by Lex, who knows? I mean, at this point in the current continuity, Bruce, and when Lex knows who Batman is, he knows it's Bruce multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
So, not that this fits to that at all, but at the same time, you know, if you're going to go for your worst possible enemy, Batman's pretty high up there.
Yeah.
Because he gets stuff done.
Yep.
Like punching Justice's nose with the face.
Punching crime in the nose?
Yes, that's what I was looking for.
Because it has a big nose.
Heck yeah. Freaking awesome. Alright, so let's see, moving on to slots. Is that what the...
Yeah.
Slots. Everybody. No, it's a different song about drinks.
Well,
Ross is shaking his head like he doesn't like rap.
That's shots, not slots.
It's not the rap, that's the problem.
Gotcha. Damn it, Ross. Damn it.
What's Jack's
That
band again?
was underhanded.
Jack and the Jet Streams?
Jack.
It doesn't sound like a rap band to me.
No.
Wow.
Rap metal.
Eventually they cross over.
That's what I like.
I'm pretty sure it's like a combination of Screamo and Wino. both drinking and just barking.
Jack's a dog, in case you don't know that.
Oh.
For the rest of the audience.
That may be not involved in this.
Well, may not have any idea what we're talking about.
He kind of comes up a lot.
He does,
I would say
surprisingly.
he's probably the unofficial mascot of the show.
If we just get him to wear a cape, that's all he needs to do.
Well, in the Batman suit. I haven't had pictures.
That's true. But not begrudgingly.
My dog loves to wear the Superman cape. He doesn't mind it at all.
See?
He runs around in it.
You probably let him eat the cat litter more.
I don't think that's not a great incentive, mostly because it's a lot for you to clean up afterwards.
And
Gross.
put it to the South Park kids.
It's terrible. All right, Robert, do you want to start a story about slots?
Sure.
Okay.
So this is actually a Skybound book from Image, but it's created, written, and the art is all being done by Dan Panosian. I'd be lucky to say that more than once without messing that up. So when we start the book up, we are catching up with our main character here, which is Stanley Dancer. And unbeknownst to us, Stanley is a retired boxer that more than likely was not on the up and up. But Stanley's come to grips with the idea that he's an asshole. And that he's going to burn up all of his luck. And as an asshole, he knows that he burns the people that are around him, including his friends, including his family, to the last cinder. And so as we begin this book, he's basically going to dine a dash at a diner after he makes all this communication with like the waitress and stuff.
He's hitting on her.
Yeah. He winds up leaving the keys.
Oh, yeah, she is. Yeah.
He leaves the keys on the table, right? As he goes outside to take the call, and the cook in the back's like, "Will he pay?" She's like, "Oh no, don't worry about it. He left his keys," and he just takes off in his car with his other set of keys. What we find out pretty quickly after that point is that he's had several sets of keys made, and these keys were his luck. And when those keys were out, he's going to go to, and if you ever drove into Las Vegas, you may have passed this road, ZZYZX.
Oh, yeah.
And find where he stashed his gun. Because he's going to end it.
Yeah, those keys were his countdown clock.
Yeah, so he had it wasn't that he made copies of his keys, he had a collection of keys. They were all kept in his dash for this exact reason, to dine a dash. And
when they run out?
When he runs out, he was done. Because he's going to keep one final promise.
But his last moment before he ends things, he gets a message, and it's somebody calling in a debt.
Calling in a chip.
And so he decides, like, he's got to go back to Vegas to finish this call-in. And as we get in there, we start learning about kind of the seedy life that he had and all the connections that he's had in Vegas. Help out one of his friends who owns kind of a seedy dive called the Piggy Bank Theater.
Yeah, the Piggy Bank Theater, the on front of it, the message you got was from the lady that owns it, and that she's having problems keeping her number one star, burlesque dancer, from leaving the club to go work somewhere else. She's asking him for help to help save the club, money-wise and deal-wise, and to try to take care of the other guy who's trying to poach her talent, which is the burlesque dancer. And in the process of that, we're going to find out the burlesque dancer just happens to be your daughter, which is also fairly questionable, because she's clearly not happy with Mom adding extra dates to her appearance contract.
Yeah, this leads him to getting with his old trainer to try to line something up. And of course, the old trainer's like, "Nobody's going to take you anymore. Nobody wants an old broke down bum like you. You're too old to get in the ring. We don't even know if we can get you licensed anymore." And so he starts shopping him around in the MMA circuit. And he kind of explains, like, "Oh, well, these MMA guys, like, they got to focus on too many skills, so they're not really good at any. They're good at like one maybe, and the rest they're not very good at."
Well, yeah, what he's talking about is what he's really trying to set up is a fight with an MMA fighter that's not a striker, so that they take him into a boxing match, not a cage match. He has to fight like a boxer. And if anybody recently, within the last like 7 months, saw the Merriweather and what's that guy's name? The Irish fighter. Yeah, the Merriweather and Connor fight. Well, you know that if you're fighting in a boxing ring and you're an MMA fighter, the rules are different. And it doesn't matter how quick you are in MMA, if you're not allowed to hit dudes in the back of the heads or hit the side of their heads because of rules, you lose. McGregor. Not that I was a stab because I'm afraid of the guy. I mean, they'd probably tear me apart. It's not like anything like that. But ultimately, that's what he's trying to...
They're just different.
They're just so different.
Completely
different things.
It's a different sport.
So
sure.
Them trying to find an MMA target is to find a guy who's not a good striker. That way he has a chance to box him. And then set something up. And of course that leads to the next piece.
Which is ultimately, like, he's probably going to get the fight. But while he's there, he runs across this promising young boxer. He's kind of like, "Oh, he's got a nice hook." And when he turns back, he realizes that it's his son.
Lucky.
Like, he pretty much turns around and knocks his ass to the ground. And we kind of, like, roll out of the end of the issue with him kind of realizing, like, his kid might be a big factor in this story, too. But it's actually a pretty enjoyable read. It feels like this is written to be, like, a cinematic kind of experience. I enjoy the artwork that they got for it.
Yeah,
it's written well.
It is. It's just got a nice flow to it.
Yeah. I mean, it feels like if this was going to be a 6-part, which I'm not sure how big it is, but it feels like a film script. And sometimes in comics...
different. Yeah.
Sometimes in comics that doesn't work. This one, I feel like it kind of does. So, honestly, I'd probably give it I give it a 4. I actually really thought it was very good.
Right on. Well, yeah, I would second that. As far as like a setup for a book, like it's interesting, like the way he places things in the world. The whole reveal of that road leading from San Diego, or from not San Diego, from California to Vegas. You pass that road if you've ever been out there. So between the 2 points, it's like gives you a real point in time to tell you where he was before. So he went from California, got stopped, and had to go all the way to Vegas. And it's interesting the way they line the rest of that up. So, yeah, like setup-wise, I dig the art. It's got a really cool style to it. I dig the way he does certain things. Like when he talks about throwing the salt over his shoulder, like the way it shows it is very movie-like. So, I feel what you're saying with that. Yeah, I give it a 4 also. It's definitely a fun read. I'm interested to see the next story. Like how they're going to try to tie the kids together. And we got an interesting tattoo we see on the back of the sun. What that's going to mean, or if it means anything. Interesting because they make a big deal of showing it to us. So, but yeah, as far as being a bum out on his luck, I mean, he's kind of a jerk, but at the same time, obviously his lady trusts him enough to call him for help. So it'll be interesting to see where it goes. But yeah, it's kind of got a movie feel to it, which is really, I think, is cool. Ross, score for this book?
I'd give it a 3. The art was awesome, and it definitely did have a movie type feel to it.
Sweet. There's Mike?
I liked it. It was just different. It's different than anything else, sitting out here.
Right.
It's not superheroes. It's not, demons or any of that. I mean, it's just life.
Right.
And the main character is a guy who has nothing to lose.
Right.
He's been done. So, what's he care?
Right.
So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what he gets himself into. I give it a 3.5, solid 3.5. Artwork's good. Story flow is really nice.
Oh yeah, I'm super interested in seeing the rest of it. It's definitely interesting setup. And like whatever his plan is, it'll be interesting to see what that winds up really being, or if it's really a plan at all.
He appears to be one hell of a con man.
Oh yeah, for sure.
He's gotten this far.
Well, like the whole thing with the lady at the diner. He had no idea what he was doing.
A glove box full of keys.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
You never thought of that.
No.
Look, Ross has already got it done.
Well, it's because he's separating his keys on his key ring, which I wondered what he was doing at the first, but now I understand. Knowing he's half the battle, G.I. Joe. Alright, so let's move on to Iron Man, number 593. So for those of you who don't know, this is the legacy numbering. This is the new number 1 starting point. It's got an awesome cover. I mean, the normal cover is basically Iron Man smashing up a gravestone for Tony Stark, so it's freaking awesome. Cover is great.
If I remember right, that is actually like a homage cover, too. I think they've actually had that cover before with Iron Man coming out of his own grave.
I don't remember that, but it's very possible. They're doing a whole lot of those right now.
Yeah,
So this issue is written by Brian Michael Bendis. The artist on it is Stefano Caselli and Alex Maleev. Beautiful art. I mean, the book flows really well. The coloring is great in it, too. I mean, Maleev has got a credit for coloring as well, so it's good stuff. But we open up the book, and the very beginning of it, we start with Tony still in the coma, still in the, cryo machine.
Yeah, it's whatever they put him in after the Second Civil War. It's not keeping him alive because he's alive. It's just he's non-responsive. His brain works, he's breathing, his heart works, but there's no Tony.
Just in a weird coma and can't seem to wake up.
Yeah.
We're greeted by one of the AIs, the current AI that's been running his Friday, the girl AI who's basically all pink. And she gives us a very long dissertation kind of thing of what's been going on. So it's very catch-up-y, which, I mean, is good. But the page right before that, we see somebody in there looking at Tony in the case, and all we really see is their hand, and there's no explanation of who it is. It almost seems like Friday's talking to who they are. But who they are, no reveal. At least not yet. Anyway, we want to find out that we're in the process of doing a Stark Expo, and this is the event that Tony puts on that we see in movie 2. It's basically like a World's Fair kind of thing. And it's his mother, the second mother, which is from a newer batch of stories as well. And she's on stage telling everybody, oh, we're going to have a great expo, and even though everyone knows that Tony is currently unreachable, we're hoping one of you has a technology that will help save him, and if you do, you're the ones that win. You win the expo. And she kind of breaks down for a second, and like we see MJ off in the back, and she's like, oh no, hold it together, don't lose it. And she kind of comes back and tells the crowd how she was really hoping that Tony would show up today, just out of nowhere. But unfortunately, he can't, so they have Ironheart, and in flies Riri Wilson, and she's, in an Ironheart uniform, and basically takes the place of Iron Man, doing press stuff and like showing off the new suit, and that leads us to the backstage where Mary Jane is run into by a businessman who starts out by asking her if she remembers who he is. And initially she's like, yeah, I'm sorry, I don't recall. And he's like, well, as a chairman, you think you'd remember that. And she realizes that he's part of the X-Rocks group, and one of the members of the board for Iron Man's company, and then she remembers why she didn't call him, because he's a jerk. And he talks down to her a little bit about how she's a model, and wow, I'm surprised you guys managed to pull this off, a rock star and a ex-model. Like, how'd you guys get this together in the first place? And he informs her that the board has voted Tony out of power because he's unconscious, and they will no longer be needing Miss Mary Jane Watson or Tony's mom as part of the company. We pretty quickly cut from there to Rikers Island, and Rikers Island, of course, is Alcatraz. If you don't know what that is, I'm surprised, because you should. But what we find out is there's been a breakout of Alcatraz, much like the last time the Rock was broken out of. And it turns out that Iron Man, Dr. Doom Iron Man, the infamous Iron Man, has been delivering villains to Rikers Island for, I don't know, the past few months of him running around as Iron Man. And since S.H.I.E.L.D. is no longer a thing, the criminals on Rikers Island just broke out. Because who's going to catch them? So that leads us to the police, who are trying to investigate what's happened and try to figure out exactly why it happened or how these criminals broke out and what was going on. And of course Doom shows up again to question himself, which leads to an odd thing happening with all the guys there. The sheriff, the detective, the FBI inquisitor all start hugging each other, like kind of uncontrollably, as if they're being manipulated, which is super weird. And I'm not current on Invincible Iron Man, or no, not Invincible. Infamous Iron Man. So I don't know if that's a thing connected to him or what that is.
I'm relatively sure it's a spell that he pulled.
But it's very bizarre.
Yeah.
Anyway, we also find out that the Thing is on the island as well. And of course the Thing's not happy seeing Doom at all because, well, he's Doom. And he doesn't like that Doom's trying to be a good guy, and doesn't think Doom deserves to be forgiven for all the evil things he's done. And it makes Doom very aware that he will not forgive him. And so Doom tells him, well, what I need is a list of people that escaped, so I can go after them again. Because they're going to come after me, and that definitely makes my life in danger. And the Thing basically tells him, well, if you want to, he's basically telling him that if you want to slug it out, we can. And that leaves with Dr. Doom basically leaving, teleporting himself away. And the Thing is surprised because that's not the expected response he expected. He expected to go to blows with him, and that didn't happen. And about that time, we see the guys in the back stop hugging each other, and they're like, are you okay? You alright? Yeah, that was weird. And then we move forward back to the girls, and we wind up finding out that at the end of the expo, Mary Jane got a text from Friday that something's happened at the containment facility where Tony is. So both Mom, Tony, and Friday, and Riri are all there, and they see that there's no longer a Tony inside the cryo chamber Tony was in. And none of them know how he got out, including Friday, who is the sentient robot there to watch, much like Jarvis. And so MJ's freaking out, telling him, we need to call FBI. Someone's kidnapped him. And she continues on that path pretty much the entire time. And then the Friday makes mention of somebody has turned off the tracker that they basically had in Tony, and now it's turned back on. And we have Riri make this weird oh no face, because I think she's the one that disabled it. Anyhow, if so, it's off in another book. Friday lets them know that she's already reached the Avengers and let the Avengers know he's missing. And makes it very clear that it's possible Tony doesn't want to be found. And if he has woke up and doesn't want to be found, then that might be why they can't find him. Of course, the girls can't understand that. It leads to a lot of conversation between the group. And we cut away to elsewhere, where we see somebody come walking out of what looks like a shower, but like a medical shower. And they are rough shape. Oh my gosh, rough shape. Burned skin, hairless, and they come crawling towards what looks to be an Iron Man suit. Leave there that, because there's another reveal right after that. There's a couple other reveals in the middle, too, that we don't totally know the answers to yet. Simply because it's so early in the story. I think this is issue 1, people. Come on. Anyhow, Brian Michael Bendis, good writer. Great storyteller. I think the guy's awesome. All the stuff he did with Miles Morales is great. Story-wise, I have to give it a 3. As far as Iron Man stories, I'm glad we're getting back to some Tony stories. I mean, like you said earlier, I don't mind Ironheart. Would she stand alone with her own book? I don't know. Squirrel Girl Killer's still going, somehow. So I guess there's that. Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur, it's still going somehow. Again, I don't understand that. So, would Ironheart work? Yeah, I'm going to say more likely. I mean, she's got an Iron Man suit, so that's pretty cool. Yeah. So, yeah, I give it 3. Ross, what do you know about the Iron Man?
He's iron, and he's a man.
That's a good answer.
There's a sweet Black Sabbath song about him.
That's what I was looking for. Yeah! You want to rock?
Yes.
Throwing up the horns the whole time? That's what I like.
Book's pretty awesome. I like the whole thing with Doctor Doom and the Thing in the middle of it. I like that we've been getting a lot more of the Thing recently, just in general.
Right.
Yeah, pretty good book. I'd probably give it a 3.
Right.
Yeah, I actually really like the conversation that Doom and the Thing have.
Mm-hmm.
But, no matter what you do, no matter how, that inner child wants to be a hero now, it's too late. And you made all these choices, and now you have to live with them. I thought that was awesome.
Mm-hmm. They do have quite a history.
Yeah.
They've gone to blows so many times over nothing. So that makes it cool right there.
Yeah. They've actually had him show up quite a few times now in the Sinister Iron Man.
Infamous Iron Man.
Infamous Iron Man, yeah.
At least for 3 issues.
Yeah.
Kind of together.
He's shown up quite a bit, it feels like. But maybe it's just those were the issues I paid the most attention to because the Thing, isn't it?
Maybe. Rob, you want to score the book?
Sure, yeah. I actually enjoyed this one quite a bit. It's it doesn't feel kind of just like the same old thing for Iron Man, so I give it 3.5. I'm excited to see where we go from here. So,
right on. Mr. Mike?
Well, with the Thing and Doom, you know what I'm going to say.
Is it a 4 because he's part of the Fantastic Four?
It's a 3.
Okay.
Because I'm not, I'm not up on Iron Man. What's going on with him really too much, so I was a little lost. But
yeah, the beginning of it definitely picks up from what was going on during Secret Empire, and him being in a coma is, that's the only part you really need to know. So if you're new to the system, this is a good place to start. There's mention of it in other books, but
it's nice to see they still have that sense of history.
Right. Well, like all the other parts with Mary Jane being an assistant and Riri being in the suit, like all that stuff comes from the previous series. And then even farther back than that, the series prior to him being in the coma with Mary Jane. So, it definitely is leading from the other stuff. So, them being there, I could definitely see that being confusing, because what's Mary Jane Watson doing hanging out with Iron Man? That makes no sense. But it happened in about, 2 years ago, maybe?
It's been a minute.
In a batch of Iron Man books. Not that helps anybody, because, it doesn't. Anyhow, Iron Ways, Iron Cause, that's not a different song. That's not how Iron Ways, Iron Laws. That's not a real song, is it? Irish ways and Irish laws, stand up for the cause and jump around. Jump around, jump up, get down. Jump. Ross, everybody jump? No? Okay. Don't jump because it'll make the recording terrible.
That's true.
Whatever. Okay, so let's which is cheese?
Too many songs.
Yeah, this time
there's been a lot of them.
Too many songs.
It's funny. This is the Steve song.
Steve song episode. Oh my gosh. All right. Well, so let's go and run that interview. Again, this is from the Colorado Springs Comic Con. this last year. And this is with Ash Maczko. Ross, go and roll that interview there, Ross. All right, this is Steve, the Top 5 Comics Podcast, here at the Colorado Springs Comic Con 2017. And I'm here with
Ash Maczko of Scorriers.
Which is an awesome book, by the way. Super fun.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you saying that.
So, as far as like books and writing and whatnot, man, like when did you decide to start doing this?
Well, writing comics in general, I've literally done my whole life. I make first and second grade, I was making comic books. Before I'd even owned a comic book for Marvel or anything, I was making my own. I was making games and comics and writing books literally since my whole life. That's all I wanted to do. So it was kind of just a long journey to finally get to, doing Scorriers, but it didn't just come out of nowhere. I've been working on that stuff for a long time.
Well, that's awesome. As far as like writer, I mean, who are there people you follow or people you look up to, like industry-wise, or is it just...
Yeah, certainly, as a teen, when I kind of got a little more into actually writing and then reading other comics, I was a big fan of like James O'Barr and Joseph Michael Linzer. I like Dawn stuff. I like The Crow. I like some just, I read some Amazing Spider-Man when Mark Bagley was drawing it and stuff like that. I, like anybody else, I had tons of comic books I used for reference, but I was always more interested in making my own characters, my own story arcs and things. So I kind of used that as jumping off points, looking at other books and things.
That's cool. That's awesome, man. And book-wise, didn't it start out as a Kickstarter, didn't it?
Yeah. Well, we came up with the concept, and really we made the poster, which is just kind of like that intro cover that we did for Scorriers #1, and we had done that before we had even created any story arcs or character names or anything, and we just posted that on Facebook, because we just we knew we wanted to do something with the title, with the image, but we didn't know what yet. And then we started getting publishers messaging us through Facebook. It was like, okay, it looks like maybe we could do this right now, So we talked to a few publishers. We got something set up with Devil's Due before there was even a comic yet. We were just kind of going.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So the plan with them was to kickstart it, because it was going to be something totally new. So that was our intro to everything in comics. Really was that. So, and now we've done probably four different Kickstarters at this point.
Man, that's freaking awesome. As far as setup, I was going to ask how you landed with Devil's Due, but that explains that.
Yeah, that's how we met with them. They messaged us through Facebook when they saw the poster, and then a couple weeks later, we did some little local show by us, and we were just selling prints, the little 11 by 17 print. And Devil's Due was there, and they came by and stopped by us, and they were like, "Hey, you're teasing us with this poster, man. When's the comic coming out?" And then we met them again at C2E2 a couple months later, and we just kind of made it official. All right, let's make a comic. Let's get it out. Let's see what we can do with it. So
that's freaking awesome, man. So book-wise, if you want to get a hold of your stuff, what's the best way to do it?
Well, Scorriers.com will link you to everything. That's all of our books. That'll link you even to Devil's Due site, to Comixology, to pretty much any place you can get the comic. And it can be bought, through Diamond. So any comic store carries.
Well, no, our store does. So
okay, well then there you go. You understand how that works.
Right. So what's your go-to karaoke song?
Go-to karaoke song is "Everything Zen" by Bush.
It's a good choice. I like that. All right, so if you're stranded on a deserted island, and you only take 5 items with you, items can also be people.
Okay, items can be people.
What would you take?
5 items, and we said that a helicopter does count.
You can.
Okay, well we'll put that on there. If it doesn't, are we assuming food and all the necessities are covered?
I'm gonna say island-wise. I mean, there's plants and trees,
so
coconuts.
It's mostly just things to kind of entertain yourself and survive with, right? God, I'd probably, as silly as this is going to sound, probably my guitar. So I'd have an acoustic guitar to make some music on. I bring Ashley with. I wouldn't want to be totally alone. So that's 2. I'd have to bring my dog. So that's Fable. That's 3. We're going to assume that there's food and stuff. So the last 2, like I said, I take the helicopter, just in case. And then for the last one, and the Swiss Family Robinson treehouse. That was the last one.
Awesome. That's a pretty good choice. I like the helicopters. Anybody know? Do you know how to fly a helicopter?
It's we're on the island, but we have plenty of time to figure it out and test it.
So very good point. Okay, so last one.
All right.
If you lived in Fantasyland, would you ride a chocolate pony?
If I lived in Fantasyland, would I ride a chocolate pony? No.
It's messy, right?
Well, chocolate ponies are meant to just live their own life, do their own thing. You know, they don't need people, you know, trying to wrangle them or ride on them. They have their own. I wouldn't want them to ride me. So I'm going to say we just live in harmony.
Live free, right?
Yes.
Awesome. Well, thanks for taking time to talk with us, man.
For sure. Thanks for having me.
Right on. That was a fun show. I want to thank Ash for taking the time to talk with us about him and Ashley's book. The two of them get around to quite a few shows, so just pay attention if you get a chance to meet them. They're both awesome people. All right, so let's see. Ross, what'd you learn today, Ross?
Learned that flaming mammoths are a hard thing to keep alive.
That is true. According to Legacy, they get one page. Sad day. All right, Rob, what'd you learn today?
We didn't get to talk about this very much, but evidently the insides of a ice giant is just as good as any cooler. It'll keep your beer nice and cold.
That's also true.
If you read Legacy, you'll know what we're talking about.
That's true. All right. Mr. Mike, what'd you learn today?
I guess we'll make it a trifecta. I learned that there's a hammer ranch.
There's got to be something, man. It makes no.
I can't.
All of them hanging out together. Yeah, you need a hammer? I got me a hammer.
You just get to go pick one out? Or?
I think Odin just randomly picks them. I guess.
Well, an all-powerful being like that, he probably gets bored, I guess.
I guess so. A million years, you gotta have something to do with that time training hammers on the hammer ranch. Makes perfect sense. Rob, what did I learn today?
Evidently, you want Ross to have plastic underwear.
That was an off comment, but I don't think I want him to. I think he needs them when it's flooding.
I think you need to let your inner musician out.
That's not true. That's not. There's just words that make sense with songs and other words.
Okay.
All right. So after that nonsense and Ross's undergarments, I guess. Right? Poor Ross.
For more information, rossassen.net.
That's you want work done. Don't say you heard it here because I don't want to take responsibility. But at the same time, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. You can get the work done. Rob, you want to do some books to watch?
Oh, jeez. Yeah, Marvel's got actually a bunch of new books for Legacy that are going to be fantastic. Incredible Hulk is taking over for Totally Awesome, which is going to be really good. It's actually already got its first issue out, and it's fantastic. Astonishing X-Men's been great. They just started a new series for Cable, which could be really good. Flipping over to DC, Teen Titans has continued to be fantastic. We also, of course, got Birthright, which is still one of my favorites to pick up on the side. Oh, gosh, there was another one I was thinking of, and it's just slid right on past. So.
All right, then. Mr. Ross?
Yeah, so that Halloween Comic Fest is coming up pretty soon.
That's true.
And there's Free Chilling Adventures of Sabrina that you should read in that. And an issue of Ghostbusters looks pretty awesome. None of it's new stuff. They're all reprints of old stuff, but it's a good way to get into something that maybe you wouldn't have tried out before.
Right.
As far as other new stuff coming out, I'm pretty sure there's an ongoing of Hot Dog and the Werewolf that's
not the title of the
coming
book.
up here pretty soon.
It's the Hunger.
Hot Dog and the Werewolf.
That's not what it's called. Hunger. Man. Yeah.
There's also a issue of Super Sons coming out in the near future that is a team-up of Crypto and Titus that looks awesome. Super excited for that.
That sounds amazing.
And DC has some pretty cool Christmas stuff in the works for a little while.
I don't know if they'll ever recapture that magic that was Larflee's Christmas
It's
special.
just so fitting.
It's hard to do, yeah. That was definitely an excellent book.
I'm really surprised that Larflee's is still... He's kind of not been a thing most of the year, so it's about time. He pops up again.
I don't know how you'd sequel that, though.
I have no idea.
You just have to do a separate story.
Yeah.
You know what I think? Instead of us making a sequel comic book to that, make an animated Christmas special. It's like the claymation style Christmas specials of Larfleeze.
Claymation Larfleeze?
Yep.
That would be fantastic.
Can you imagine the shock as he pulls Rudolph's nose off?
That would be awesome. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that would be great.
Wow.
Man, do we know anybody that does animation or claymation stuff? We gotta know some
We'll
one
figure
person.
it out.
All right.
There's got to be a YouTube video.
40 years of work to get it done with one person.
New mission.
It kind of depends on how crummy you want it to look.
It's true.
Quicker the better. She's
She's
gonna look terrible.
The dog. It's really bad when the dog's doing it.
Yeah, it's pretty terrible. As long as you have a lot of red, it'll be fine. Fine. Mr. Mike, you got some books to watch?
Oh, definitely. I caught my eye the Sean Murphy Batman White Knight.
Right.
The dog team-up book sounds really cool.
So the Super Sons?
Other than that, I'm a little out of touch.
Mm-hmm.
Gotham City Garage might be interesting to keep track of.
Yeah. I can understand that.
And slots. Honestly, that's it.
Yeah. Dig it. As far as like series is getting ready to start or come out, we're going to have a Jetsons series start pretty soon, which not exactly sure if it's going to replace the Flintstones the same way, but the Flintstones paid off real well in the end. I know that sounds silly with me saying it, but at the same time, it was pretty freaking good.
I'm sure they're wanting to go for a similar type
Probably.
of thing there. Yeah.
I'd be surprised if it wasn't. So I'd say at least check the first one of those out.
Yeah, try to get your retailer to order you trades for Flintstones, because it's really legit. I mean, it's like when Turtles were coming out, or were starting to come out. It feels weird saying like, "Oh, this is a really legit series, and you should get into it," because your mind says no. Flintstones, Ninja Turtles, they're not great comics. These are.
Yeah.
And they're a big exception to that. I mean, the Flintstones is actually a really good satire kind of book.
So, I'm honestly surprised they ended that one as popular as it was going. I know they were planning for it to be a limited thing, but I'm surprised they ended it still and didn't just keep it.
Yeah, I think I found most of its following towards the end, which doesn't help it, but I think people realized it was good after the first trade came out and they could finally have somebody tell them what to read. Which is why we're doing this, people. We're trying to tell you what to do. To help you. Not because I'm ordering you. Sort of? Because like that? No? Order number one?
We read the book so that you can decide you want to read the book too.
That's okay. I would another suggestion would be Tinkers of the Wasteland. If you dig Tank Girl, it's got a very Tank Girl feel. It's black and white interiors, like old school Tank Girl. I dig it a lot.
It's fun.
It's a fun book. Yeah, I think it's cool. It's from a really small company, and I cannot remember the name of the company. But they are carrying it in Diamond now, so you can get your retailers to find it, or ask me to find it. If you come to our store, because I'm your retailer. Isn't that terrible? It's like a pitch for nothing.
Cheap plug.
Cheap plug, that's what I like. All right, cheap plug. I feel like there's another one that's pretty decent that I was excited for coming out for the Image now, and my brain's like, bloop, same as Rob with the whole thing with the words. And another one I'm digging a lot right now, which is 2 issues in, Wonder Woman Conan.
What?
Yeah, love it. It's so silly, and where it doesn't fit in continuity at all.
It's a mini.
6-part miniseries. Issue 1 and 2 came out this last week, but it makes all the stories about Wonder Woman's first meeting a man, Steve Trevor, alive because she hung out with Conan. And Conan's more of a man than Steve Trevor ever was. I mean, he didn't wear pants, Ross. He wore fuzzy underwear. Well, and he wore them and ruled them. It wasn't like he was wearing them. He's like, this feels weird.
You think about it. You got the Trinity, right? You got He-Man, Conan, Thundar.
And they were all awesome.
None of them wear pants.
No.
But they also wear fuzzy boots. So, I mean, maybe it's the fuzzy boots, fuzzy brief combo.
That's a good point.
That makes you a
real badass. It would be hot wearing those fuzzy boots all the time. That would definitely be warm.
But you're also not wearing pants, so...
That's true. Does that make up for the... No, maybe it does.
Maybe it does.
I guess until I get a pair of fuzzy boots, I won't know that. Yeah. That implies I have the fuzzy
It depends on what time of year it is.
That's true, too. Most of them take place in the summer, but I mean, Thundar is in the wasteland, so who knows what the temperature's like. I mean, Earth's cracked, so...
That's true.
It might be... Right? So you think it'd be super warm? Is radiation warm?
I don't think so.
I think it just makes you sick.
Doesn't affect the temperature so much?
I don't know.
When the meltdown first starts, then it does. And after the meltdown, it's just gross to be around.
Yeah.
Alright, anything else, lads?
Well, I guess, actually, there's 2. I didn't name them because I figured that Mike would say it.
What?
But Black Science
and
Deadly Class. I know it's been a minute since I picked them up, but they're still good.
Yeah,
They are.
Still good.
Yeah, they're still good. And then they're killing it.
Mm.
Heck yeah.
Look out for the new album from Jack and the Jetstreams.
Jack and the Jetstreams. If you like dogs howling with guitar squealing, that's the thing for you.
That could be awesome.
Is it a Christmas special upcoming? Or
You could just put Christmas on it, and it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not like you understand the words.
One version of it's going to be like for Halloween, and one version is going to be Christmas. They might sound very similar.
The Christmas one, we had sleigh bells.
Yeah. There you go.
Nice.
There you go.
Ring ding ling. Awesome.
The sad thing is that could happen very easily.
It is happening at this point. Everybody's
Already
Christmas
started.
gift this year. Now you know what you're getting.
I guess I will have to bring Levi over. You need more members.
Oh, and I just wanted to remind you guys to check out our new website, the Top5ComixPodcast.com website.
That's where you can capture all of the past episodes along with the newest episodes so that you can enjoy all the archive of Top 5 Comics Podcast.
A lot of cool stuff on there.
Yeah, because there's been like 100 of them?
It's funny.
You can also check out related sites like my YouTube site, which is Ant-Man 2050. But more importantly than that, check out the podcast. Check out the rest of the shows. If you're new to it, check out some of the old ones. There's got to be something in there that you're going to like, along with a lot of great, delicious interviews with all kinds of artists and writers and actors and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, there's a bunch of random stuff.
Yeah.
The link will lead you to the Podomatic site too, so, as far as getting around, you can. Anyway, it's new, so check it out, I guess, leave feedback maybe. And if you're YouTube, iTunes subscriber, God, I can't remember my titles.
Oh.
If you're on iTunes, leave us a comment, because that'd be awesome, because that's all iTunes cares about.
Actually,
apparently.
if you leave a comment, you're awesome.
That's true.
Yeah.
Hey.
If you're on iTunes and you leave a comment,
then you're awesome.
You're awesome. It's an awesome,
Alright, so Taki?
Taki.
Oh, come on, Mike.
I just don't have it in me, man.
You haven't seen enough Kamen Rider.
That's true.
You only have to see a little bit. And then you're a slave to it.
You go Taki.
Taki. That was a fighter in Soul Calibur.
That's true.
Telling you, $25,000 $25,000 premium's gotta come back. That's how the whole brain works. It's terrible.